Okay, welcome to week number 7. We're really close to being done. Next Wednesday, August 1st, is the due date for your final project. So we're within like 9 days of being done. So this week, look for feedback from your rough draft. Don't forget, go back and look at all of my comments and marks and turn it in. Don't just look at the grade. Also, don't forget that the grade on your rough draft does not mean that that will be the grade on your final draft. They're graded very differently. So, this week's goal is all about revising. So you have a rough draft, and it was a complete rough draft, but it was probably pretty rough. Now you're going to get some feedback from me. Now you need to make some choices and some decisions about how to make your paper better. So there are a whole bunch of resources for proofreading and revising in this week. Revising takes place within a long period of time, usually, as long as you can have. So you've got about 9 days, so you should start now. Also, the best revisions take place when writers are their own most constructive critics. So don't be afraid to be critical of your work. Don't be overly critical. Don't just say it sucks and throw it away. But really examine the parts that are good. Really examine the parts that need work. And be ruthless about making changes. So if something needs to be taken out, take it out. Something needs to be added, add it. Don't get too married to your work that you've got right now that you can't be a good reviser. So, revising is making significant changes, switching things around, adding sources and support, changing wording and content so that it's clearer, better, stronger. It's not just proofreading. Proofreading is part of it, but if you're just going to proofread your rough draft and turn it in as your final draft, you're probably not going to have the results that you want. So, be clear about that and be a patient and be a critical reviser. Otherwise, this week, you have a couple things to do. We haven't talked a whole lot about punctuation or grammar or mechanics or anything like that, but it has been assumed that you're proofreading for those things. I wanted to give you just a brush up for this week. So there's a basic punctuation brush up. This thing is pretty long. It's going to take you a little bit of time. So what you need to do here, these are the instructions. You use your Keys for Writers textbook. There's a part about punctuation mechanics and spelling. What you need to do is you need to find the rules. For example, these are the rules about using a semicolon. And then you write in the rule for using a semicolon here, and then you apply the rule in the numbered sentences. So you have to find the rule, put the rule here, then apply the rule to each of the numbered sentences. If one of them is already correct, you have to mark that it's correct, either with a C or whatever. So this isn't going to take you forever and forever, but it's not going to be short either, so make sure you give yourself some time for that. You also need to submit a final draft guidelines and requirements acknowledgement sheet. Make sure you do that. If you do not turn in a final draft guidelines and requirements acknowledgement, you cannot turn in the final draft itself. So please make sure you get that in, and make sure you get it in on time. And then the last thing that you'll be doing this week is making yourself a revision plan of action. So instead of just jumping in to your revisions kind of willy-nilly, I find it's easier to actually write down a plan. So what I'm asking you to do is to first review your feedback from your annotated bibliography and your rough draft and kind of reflect on that. So for a couple paragraphs, a solid paragraph or two, I want you to think about your strengths, your weaknesses, what you need to work on, what is already okay. And then I want you to make a plan for how you're going to fix the things that need to be fixed. So I want to know, what are you going to fix? what needs to be done to fix it, to make it better. And you might want to include a timeline for yourself. I find that it's easier to include a timeline to keep you on track. So you know you have 9 days. Maybe on Monday this week you're going to make your plan for revision and you're going to submit it. Then maybe on Tuesday and Wednesday you're going to work on your proof paragraphs. Maybe on Thursday you're going to work on your conclusion. Maybe on Friday you're going to go to tutoring. Whatever. But be as detailed and specific as possible on that. You're turning this in for a grade, but really it's for you. You should be using this to kind of organize your revision process. So that's what is going on this week. Also, don't forget that there are tutors available on campus. I know that this is an online class and you guys probably don't want to go to campus, but there are tutors available there if you'd like to get another set of eyes on your rough drafts before your final draft is due. Finally, I will have office hours this week. So if you want to come in on Tuesday to my office hours, please just again let me know so that I know that you're coming. Also, I probably won't be able to look at whole final drafts before you turn them in via email. So again, like the rough draft, if you have small parts, if you have a proof paragraph, or if you have your intro or your conclusion or whatever that you want to look over, just a part, I'd be happy to do that, but I won't be reviewing full drafts. For that, you'd have to go to the tutoring center. So, if you have any questions or if there are any concerns before this final thing happens next week, let me know. Otherwise, finish strong.